The moment Harold Langford tore my promotion letter in front of the entire executive floor, the sound of ripping paper cut through the room sharper than anything he said afterward. He held the pieces between his fingers and looked straight at me. "This promotion letter is void," he announced. "My son will take the vice president's seat." For a second, no one breathed. Chairs stayed still. Pens hung in midair, and every pair of eyes flicked toward me as if waiting for an explosion. I felt none, only a strange, steady quiet. I kept my voice level. "Harold, that letter was signed by the board. They approved my transition weeks ago." Harold waved his hand like my words were dust. "The board understands the importance of family continuity. Tyler is ready. You will support the transition like any loyal employee would." Tyler Langford, who had been standing near the back wall trying to look important, straightened his shoulders. He was 27, eager, and dangerously unaware of how little he understood. He tried offering me an apologetic smile, but Harold cut him off with a sharp glance. I folded my hands together. "If that is your final decision, then I should give you mine." Harold frowned. "Do not make this dramatic." "Amelia, I am not," I said. "I am resigning." The words left my mouth calmly, without heat, without bitterness. I reached into my bag, removed the envelope I had prepared days earlier, and placed it on the polished table. Not a soul moved. Even Tyler's confidence cracked. Harold leaned forward. "You are walking away from a decade of stability." "No," I answered. "I am walking away from a decade of carrying this place alone." I left the meeting room while the silence behind me tried to decide whether it was shock or relief. I did not look back. I did not need to. My footsteps felt different, as if the building no longer had any claim on me. 3 months later, when news outlets flooded with stories about BIO Springs' collapse, my phone buzzed with a message from Harold himself. "You did not have anything to do with this, did you?" I stared at the screen, remembering the sound of that letter tearing, and began moving toward the life waiting outside that room. I did not plan to stay at BIO Spring for more than a year. That is what I told myself when I first signed the onboarding papers a decade earlier. But one emergency became another, and soon the place leaned on me the way a sinking ship leans on its only dry plank. I still remember the first crisis. A stability report flagged an anomaly in a batch worth nearly $200,000. Daniel from Quality shook the paper at me and whispered, "If this hits Harold's desk, he will blame the lab." "Let me see it," I told him. "You think you can fix this?" he asked. "I can prevent them from destroying product that is perfectly stable," I said, taking the report and rewriting the interpretation before Harold ever saw it. Then came the night our automated log system crashed during a regulatory audit. 2 senior managers panicked. One yelled, "Just tell the auditors it was a power surge. That will get us shut down," I said. "So what do we do?" he demanded. "You step aside. I will rebuild the logs manually." I worked through the night. They signed the packet the next morning without reading a line. Over the years, this became routine. Someone would whisper my name down a hallway, slide a file toward me, or call at dawn with the same plea, "Amelia, please. If this goes wrong, we are done." And each time, I fixed it. Quietly, correctly, without credit. The Langfords noticed only the absence of disaster, never the labor behind it. Harold once said, "Our family's leadership keeps this company stable." I almost responded, "Your family did not rewrite the compliance manual in 3 days," but I swallowed it and went back to work. The truth settled slowly over time. I was allowed to save the company, but never allowed to belong to it. The morning after my resignation, Tyler Langford was already sitting in my old chair. He spun once, testing the swivel, then looked up as I stepped into the doorway. "Amelia," he said, lifting his chin. "I hope there are no hard feelings." "You earned nothing I could feel anything about," I replied. He cleared his throat. "My father wants quick wins, faster releases, stronger quarterly numbers. At the cost of safety, I asked." At the cost of unnecessary delays, he corrected, tapping a chart on his screen. Look at this. If we cut stability checks in half, we shave days off production. That is not shaving days. I said, that is gambling with compliance. Tyler smiled like I had complimented him. Innovation always looks like risk to people stuck in old methods. Daniel from Quality appeared at my side. Tyler, those stability checks exist because one wrong batch could destroy contracts worth more than $200,000. Tyler waved him off. Data is only useful if it supports the direction we want. My father agrees. I felt the shift then, a subtle but unmistakable tilt away from science and toward blind ambition. Later that afternoon, a researcher named Lila caught up to me near the stairwell. Her voice trembled. I saw the memo Tyler sent. He is overriding the full testing sequence. He does not understand the consequences. I said, he does not care. She whispered, Amelia, the empire is cracking. People feel it. 2 days later, Tyler intercepted me near the break room. You still have 2 weeks, he said. So I expect you to hand over everything smoothly. You want process notes, I asked. I want shortcuts, he replied. The ones you never wrote down. I did not write them down, I said, because shortcuts are how companies implode. He smirked like I had delivered a challenge. Watch me prove otherwise. I walked away, realizing he believed every reckless step he took was a sign of genius. Harold called me into his office the day my resignation was scheduled to go through. He sat behind his desk like a judge preparing a sentence. Amelia, he began. This decision of yours is unnecessary. You are overreacting. I am leaving. Harold, the paperwork is already submitted. He leaned back. You are 45. Companies do not line up to hire people your age. I will take that chance. He narrowed his eyes. Gratitude is a fading trait. You had stability here. I had weight here, not stability. I said. I carried what everyone else ignored. He slammed a folder shut. Do not pretend you were indispensable. I never did. You did. Every time you relied on my work without acknowledging it. His jaw tightened. If you walk out now, do not expect me to vouch for you. I never asked you to. I said, keeping my voice calm. You will regret this, he snapped. Maybe, I replied. But regret is still better than staying silent in a place that treats silence like obedience. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he threw his final card. You are abandoning a decade. That is not bravery. That is arrogance. I am not abandoning anything. I said, I am finally stopping. I placed the last signed page on his desk. Harold stared at it as if it were a betrayal he had not seen coming. When I stepped out into the hallway, Daniel caught my arm. He slipped a small folded note into my hand and whispered, just read it later. His eyes were red, but he said nothing else. At the elevator, I opened the note. We know it should have been you. I held the paper tightly until the elevator arrived. When the doors closed, I felt a strange lightness rise in my chest, a feeling I had not recognized in years. Outside, the Seattle rain tapped against my jacket as I walked toward the street, trying to understand the quiet forming inside me. 2 weeks after leaving BIO Spring, I sat at my Aunt Meredith's kitchen table in Tacoma, staring at a stack of bills I had arranged and rearranged 3 times. She touched my wrist gently. You look tired. Amelia, I am fine, I said. You left a steady job, she murmured. That cannot be easy. It was steady only because I was the one holding it together. She exhaled softly. Still, 45 is a hard age to start over. I know, I whispered, but staying would have been harder. I opened my laptop and pulled up the list of applications I had already sent. I keep thinking nobody will even look at my resume. Someone will, she said. You have too much experience to be ignored. Experience does not matter when the wrong people are in charge. I submitted another application, then another. I forced a smile at my aunt. Maybe I will hear something by next month. The next morning, my phone rang while I was making coffee. Is this Amelia Rowan? A woman asked sharply. Yes. Speaking. This is Dr. Celeste Porter from North Meridian Labs in Chicago. We reviewed your background. I would like to discuss a senior role with you. I nearly dropped the mug. Already your compliance record speaks for itself. She said, Can you interview this week? Yes, I said, breath catching in my throat. After the call, I sat down, stunned. My aunt smiled from across the room. I told you. That afternoon, a message pinged on my screen. It was from Daniel. I should not be sending this, he wrote, but you need to see it. A screenshot followed internal chatter from the quality team, metrics slipping, tests skipped, a researcher warning that a batch had been pushed through without full verification. I stared at the messages, feeling a weight tighten inside my chest. The cracks were already spreading through a system I had held together for 10 years, and somewhere in those lines of text, something had already begun to give way. I was in Chicago for my second interview when the first message from Daniel arrived. Amelia. They released the batch, he typed. It did not complete the full stability window. I stepped into a quiet corner at North Meridian Labs and called him. What happened? I asked. Tyler pushed it through, Daniel said. He told everyone the remaining data was unnecessary. That batch was supposed to be monitored for another 7 days. He said waiting was a waste of time. Before I could respond, another message lit up my phone, this one from Lila. They shipped it to the restaurant chain in San Francisco, she wrote. Their director called. He is furious. I typed back instantly. Did they cancel the contract on the spot? She replied. It was worth more than $200,000. During my break, I caught a news clip playing on a lobby television. A reporter said, Anonymous employees at BIO Spring claim leadership is rushing approvals and bypassing safety checks. My heart dropped. The voice continued. Sources allege the new vice president is overriding internal protocols. Later that evening, Daniel called again. Do you remember the temperature deviation report from 2 months ago? He asked. Yes, the one we flagged as a repeating issue. Tyler deleted the alert log. He said it was a technical glitch and told us not to mention it to Harold. Deleting logs is a violation, I said. I know, Daniel whispered, but nobody here can stop him. He wears Harold's name like armor. I heard voices behind him, urgent, frantic. Daniel, they found another deviation, he said. This one is serious. If they ignore it, the regulators will see it on the next upload. What is Harold saying? He is saying nothing, Daniel answered. He is pretending everything is fine. I closed my eyes. I could hear it in Daniel's tone, the same sound a foundation makes before it cracks. I had barely stepped into the hotel lobby when my phone exploded with calls. Daniel's voice trembled as soon as I answered. Amelia, regulators are here. They launched a full investigation. What triggered it, that batch Tyler released early. The restaurant chain filed a formal complaint. Inspectors demanded every log from the last quarter. Behind him, I heard shouting. Someone yelled, Pull every deviation report now, Daniel whispered. Half the logs are missing. The auditors already noticed. An hour later, Lila called from her car. They issued a Class 2 recall. She said, The whole line is being pulled. Harold is screaming at the board. How is Tyler handling it? Not well. They listed his name in the preliminary report. While we spoke, a hotel TV aired breaking news. I turned up the volume. A reporter said, Bio Springs stock has dropped by more than half in a single afternoon. Internal sources say the Langford family's direct oversight led to repeated protocol violations. Another segment followed. A leaked recording reveals CEO Harold Langford directing staff to fast-track product approvals. Quote, No matter what. My phone buzzed again. Daniel, they escorted Harold out of the executive wing. He said, Board members are panicking. 3 clients just terminated contracts. What about Tyler? He tried to deny everything, but the inspectors had the deleted log files. Someone recovered them. His breath shook. This is the end. Amelia. Later that evening, the Seattle Daily Chronicle published its front-page headline, "Langford Family Empire Implodes from Within." I sat alone on the edge of the hotel bed, listening to the echo of those words through the room as the story spread across every channel. The truth was no longer quiet, no longer hidden, no longer mine to carry. I had just finished a follow-up call with Dr. Celeste Porter when my phone buzzed again. The name on the screen stopped me cold. Harold Langford. The message appeared in 3 short lines. "You did not have anything to do with this, did you?" I stared at it for a long moment, then answered the call when he tried again. His voice came through ragged. "Amelia, listen to me. This situation is being exaggerated. The auditors are overstepping. The media is twisting everything." I kept my tone even. "What do you need from me?" "Harold, I need to know," he said, "whether you contacted anyone, whether you said anything about our operations." "I did not contact anyone," I replied. "You expect me to believe that I expect you to remember I spent 10 years fixing problems you never saw." He inhaled sharply. "The board is threatening to remove me permanently. They are talking about criminal negligence. That is between you and the board," I said. "You knew the system," he hissed. "You knew exactly where to strike if you wanted to hurt this company." "I never wanted to hurt the company," I said. "I wanted to stop being the only one preventing it from collapsing." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then his tone shifted thin, brittle. "Tyler said you were angry. He said you felt humiliated." "I was," I answered. "But humiliation is not sabotage. It is simply the truth showing itself." "Amelia, please," he whispered. "Tell me you did not cause this." "I did nothing," I said. And that was enough. He let out a broken exhale. "If you had stayed, if I had stayed," I interrupted, "you would still be ignoring every warning I gave. Nothing would be different." I could hear voices in the background, board members, lawyers, someone shouting about deleted logs. Harold's voice faded to a trembling murmur. "I never thought it would fall apart like this," he said. I ended the call without replying, set the phone down, and let the silence around me settle like a final verdict. 2 days after Harold's call, Daniel reached out again. They removed him. He said, "The board voted unanimously. Harold has no voting rights, no authority, nothing." I pressed the phone to my ear. How did he take it? He kept saying they could not run the company without him. Daniel replied. Nobody agreed. Later that afternoon, Lila called as well. Tyler resigned. She said, "He told the board he was never prepared for the role." He actually said those words. "What about the investigation?" I asked. He admitted to deleting the deviation logs. It was recorded in the minutes. They are handing everything to federal auditors. In the background, I heard another voice say, "The family is selling off their Bellevue property to cover the penalties." Lila lowered her tone. "The whole dynasty is collapsing. Amelia, they're cousins, they're uncles. Everyone who held stock is scrambling to get out." That evening, a reporter on television summarized it with the bluntness Seattle News was known for. "The Langford family built BIO Spring like a kingdom," he said. Today, that kingdom has crumbled under its own weight. I sat on a bench outside North Meridian Labs' Chicago campus the next morning when Dr. Porter appeared beside me. "You are quiet," she said. "I heard the final decisions." I replied. She nodded. "I expected you might. People talk, especially when an empire falls. I did not want it to end for them like this." I said, "You did not cause it," she answered. "Systems built on ego eventually collapse. Systems built on competence endure." She handed me a folder. "The position we discussed is yours. Amelia, we need someone who understands how to keep a structure from breaking. Your experience is exactly what this place requires." I opened the folder, reading the title slowly. Director of Quality Systems. "It is not a consolation prize," she added. "It is where you belong." I closed the folder and let the offer settle inside me, heavy and steady in a way that felt nothing like the past I had walked away from. My first week at North Meridian Labs felt like stepping into a version of the industry I had only imagined. On my second morning, a young technician named Mara stopped beside my desk. "Are you the new director?" she asked. "I am," I said. "What do you need?" She hesitated, then admitted, "They told us you actually explain things. Most directors do not. Sit down." I told her. "We will start with whatever scares you the most." She laughed nervously. "Everything scares me the most." "Good," I said. "Then you are ready to learn." By the end of the day. She returned with a stack of questions and a confidence she had not shown that morning. When she left, Dr. Porter stepped into my doorway. "You made an impression," she said. "I just taught her what no one bothered to teach me," I replied. "That," she said, "is why we hired you." That evening, I picked up my Aunt Meredith and drove her to the lakeshore. She linked her arm with mine as we walked along the water. "You seem lighter," she said. I answered, for the first time in years. She stopped and looked at me closely. "Did they finally see you?" "Yes," I said, but not the way I expected. The next day, during an onboarding meeting, one of the senior auditors approached me privately. "I have been following your work for years," he said. "Your corrections in those old BIO spring audit packets. They were obvious to anyone who actually reads the details." My breath caught. "You knew who made those changes, we all did," he replied. "You were never invisible, just uncredited." Something inside me steadied something that had been shaking for far too long. Back at home, my aunt handed me a cup of tea and said, "You did not need revenge." "No," I said. "I only needed to leave." Outside the window, the lights of Chicago flickered against the water, bright and open, as if a new future had been waiting there long before I ever arrived.